Rain had been falling for quite some time, my boy. Not the loud sort that rattles a man's nerves, no. Just a patient, gentle rain, tapping softly upon the old cedar roof as though heaven itself wished to sing us a lullaby. The fire beside my bed had settled into a warm, steady glow. Every now and then a log gave a quiet little crackle, sending tiny golden sparks dancing up the chimney before disappearing into the night. My handmade quilt rested comfortably over my legs, worn smooth by many winters and stitched together by loving hands long ago. Truth be told, I don't reckon I've ever found a blanket quite so comforting since. Now, my boy, if you've been searching for stories to fall asleep to, I reckon you've found the right little cabin. Pull that blanket a little closer. Listen to the rain. And let me tell you about one peaceful night I'll never forget. There now, that's better. Can you hear that rain? Just close your eyes for a spell and let it settle into your thoughts. Some folks think silence is the greatest comfort before sleep, but I always believed the finest lullaby the Lord ever made was a gentle rain falling on a wooden cabin while a warm fire watched over the family inside. You see, whenever I hear rain like this, it carries me backward through the years, farther than most folks care to remember, all the way to one quiet evening when I was no taller than the kitchen table. I must have been 8 years old, maybe 9. Time has a funny way of softening round the edges. Faces grow gentler, voices become warmer. Even the smallest memories begin glowing like lantern light through an old cabin window. I can still see our little home standing at the edge of a clearing, tucked safely between tall oak trees whose branches swayed peacefully beneath the evening sky. Our cabin wasn't grand by any measure. No painted walls, no polished floors, no fancy furniture, just sturdy pine logs my father had helped raise with neighbors years before I came along. But to a little boy, it felt bigger than any palace. The rain that evening sounded almost exactly like the one falling outside my window tonight. Soft, steady, never in a hurry. Each drop found its own place upon the roof until they all blended together into one peaceful melody. I remember standing by the tiny window, watching little streams of water slide down the glass. Outside, the pasture had turned dark green beneath the rain. The chickens had already settled underneath their shelter, and our old milk cow stood quietly near the barn, perfectly content, chewing her supper as though rainy evenings were made especially for thoughtful creatures. The smell inside the cabin was something I wish every soul could know at least once. Fresh bread cooling upon the table, oak firewood burning slow, a little cinnamon Mother had stirred into the apple preserves, and just the faint scent of damp wool coats hanging by the front door. Those smells had a way of telling a child everything is all right. Funny, isn't it? Sometimes peace has a scent before it ever becomes a feeling. Mother was humming softly while she folded warm biscuits into a linen cloth to keep 'em hot. She never hummed loudly, just enough that the house itself seemed to hum along with her. I never learned whether she even realized she was doing it. Perhaps kindness has its own music. Father sat near the fireplace, slowly polishing the handle of his old lantern with a soft cloth. He wasn't speaking much. He rarely did after a long day's work, but his silence never felt empty. It felt restful, like the fields themselves had followed him home and settled into his chair beside the fire. Now, my boy, there's something I've learned after 75 years upon this earth. Not every happy family filled their evenings with constant conversation. Sometimes love sounded like quiet. Sometimes the greatest comfort came from simply being together without needing many words at all. I reckon that's something this busy world often forgets. The rain continued its gentle song overhead while daylight slowly slipped behind the hills. One by one, the shadows inside our cabin grew longer. Mother reached over and lit the oil lantern. Its small golden flame flickered for just a moment before settling into a calm glow that painted every wooden wall with soft amber light. Looking back now, I believe that little lantern made the whole cabin feel like the safest place in the world. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Inside, warmth wrapped itself around every chair, every quilt, every smiling face. And without realizing it, that simple rainy evening was quietly preparing to become the memory I'd carry in my heart for the rest of my life. Now, my boy, let me tell you what happened next on that peaceful rainy evening long, long ago. Once the lantern was lit and its warm glow filled every corner of our little cabin, Mother called us all together around the supper table. Now, our table wasn't much to look at, just thick pine boards Father had planed smooth himself, with 4 mismatched chairs he'd built one at a time over the years, each one a little different from the last. But my boy, I reckon no fancy dining hall ever felt as welcoming as that humble table did on a rainy night. Mother set down a pot of stew she'd been simmering since early afternoon. Potatoes, carrots, a bit of salted pork, all swimming together in a rich broth that filled the whole cabin with a smell so comforting I could ne'er about taste it even now, all these years later. Alongside sat those warm biscuits she'd wrapped in linen and a small crock of butter we'd churned ourselves just 2 days before. Now, before anyone touched a single bite, Father would bow his head and we'd all follow. He never prayed with fancy words, my boy, just simple, honest ones. Lord, we thank Thee for this rain that waters our fields, for this roof that keeps us dry, and for this family gathered safe beneath it. Amen. Short, simple, but every word meant something. I reckon that's a lesson I carried with me my whole life, that gratitude don't need to be long-winded to be real. Sometimes the simplest thanks carries the heaviest heart behind it. We ate slowly that evening, my boy, not because we were told to, but because there wasn't anywhere else we needed to be. No clocks rushing us along, no supper growing cold while we hurried off to some other business. Just the rain outside, the fire crackling beside us, and our little family sharing a meal together. My older sister, Martha, she was just 12 that year, told us about a bird's nest she'd found tucked beneath the eaves of the barn. 3 little eggs, she said, speckled brown and no bigger than her thumbnail. Father listened closely, nodding along, asking her gentle questions about exactly where she'd found it, how high up, whether the mother bird had been near. Now, my boy, that might not sound like much of a conversation to you, but I promise you, in that little cabin on that rainy evening, it was as fine a conversation as any king and his counselors ever had. Supper finished slow, the way all good things ought to. Mother cleared the dishes, while Martha and I dried them by the fire's light, taking turns with a single flour sack towel Mother had sewn herself. Father settled back into his chair, that same old chair he sat in every evening, its wood worn smooth and dark from years of resting there after long days in the field. He reached for the family Bible, resting on the little shelf beside the hearth. Its leather cover was cracked and soft from handling, the pages thin as moth wings, filled with names of kin going back further than even Father could rightly recall. "Come along now," he'd say, and we'd gather close, Martha and I settling onto the floor near his feet, the fire warming our backs while the rain kept its steady rhythm on the roof above. Now, my boy, I don't recall every verse Father read that particular evening. Memory has a way of keeping the feeling long after the words themselves fade. But I recall the sound of his voice, low and steady, blending together with the crackling fire and the soft patter of rain, until the whole cabin seemed to hum with a peace that settled deep into a child's bones. I recall Mother's needle moving quietly through some mending in her lap, pausing ever so often to listen closer to a verse that seemed to speak straight to her heart. I recall Martha's head resting slowly against my shoulder, her eyes growing heavy despite her best efforts to stay awake just a little longer. And I recall thinking, young as I was, that surely there could be no finer way for a family to spend a rainy evening than just so, together, unhurried, wrapped in firelight and quiet devotion. Outside, the rain never once let up. If anything, it seemed to grow gentler as the evening wore on, as though it too were settling in for a peaceful night's rest. Father closed the Bible eventually, resting his weathered hand upon its cover for just a moment before setting it back on its shelf. "Time for bed, little ones," Mother would say softly, and neither Martha or I ever much minded, truth be told, not on nights like that one, because bedtime in our cabin wasn't something to dread, my boy. It was simply the gentlest part of an already gentle evening. Now, my boy, let me tell you about what came after supper and scripture that evening when it came time for Martha and me to make our way to bed. Our cabin had but one small loft above the main room, reached by a narrow ladder Father had built into the corner near the hearth. That's where Martha and I slept, each of us tucked into our own little corner beneath the slanted roof, close enough to hear the rain even louder up there than below. Mother would climb halfway up that ladder every night, just far enough to tuck the quilt snug around our shoulders and press a gentle kiss to each of our foreheads. Warm enough? She'd ask, same as she asked every single night. Yes, Mother, we'd answer, same as we answered every single night. Now, my boy, there's a comfort in such small routines. A child don't always know it at the time, but repeating the same gentle words, the same soft kiss, the same quiet question night after night, it builds something inside a young heart, a steadiness, a knowing that no matter what the day had brought, some things remained the same, safe and unchanging. That evening, before she descended back down the ladder, Mother paused a moment longer than usual. She looked toward the little window at the far end of the loft where raindrops traced slow paths down the wavy glass, lit faintly by moonlight struggling through the clouds. "Hear that rain, children?" she said softly. "That's the Lord watering His earth. Come morning, everything outside gonna look a little greener, a little more alive. Rain always leaves things better than it found them, if you're patient enough to wait and see." Now, my boy, I didn't think much of those words at the time. I was young and sleepy, and mostly just wanted to feel that quilt settle warm around my shoulders. But I reckon I've carried that little thought with me through 75 years of living, through hard winters and harder losses, through storms far heavier than any that ever fell on our cabin roof. Rain always leaves things better than it found them, if you're patient enough to wait and see. Ain't that the truth of most hardships when a man looks back on them with old eyes? Mother made her way back down the ladder then, her footsteps soft upon the rungs, and soon I could hear her settling back near the fire beside Father, their voices dropping low into that gentle murmur grown-ups use once children are meant to be sleeping. I never could make out the words from up in that loft, just the warm hum of their voices blending with the crackling fire and the steady rain, like some peaceful lullaby with no need for a melody at all. Martha was already near asleep beside me, her breathing slow and even, one arm tucked beneath her cheek the way she always slept. I lay there a while longer, watching shadows dance soft upon the low ceiling above me, cast by the firelight rising up through the gaps in the loft floors. I remember thinking how safe I felt,
how the rain outside, which might have frightened a child in some other circumstance, only made our little cabin warmer, cozier, more like a fortress against the whole wide world. Somewhere below, I heard Father add another log to the fire, heard the soft creak of his chair as he settled back once more, heard Mother humming again, that same wordless tune she hummed while she worked, only slower now, quieter, meant more for herself than anyone else. I recall my eyelids growing heavy, my thoughts drifting soft and slow, the way a leaf drifts gentle down a quiet creek. The last thing I remember from that night was the rain still falling steady upon the roof and the faint golden light of the fire glowing up through the loft floorboards, and a feeling deep in my chest that everything was exactly as it ought to be.
Now, my boy, let me tell you what came with the morning after that rainy night, for it's a memory just as gentle as the evening that came before it. I woke before the others, as I often did in those days. There's something about a child's sleep that don't need near as much tending as an old man's does now. I opened my eyes to find the loft filled with soft gray light, the kind that comes just before full morning, when the world is still deciding whether to wake. The rain had stopped sometime in the night, though I couldn't rightly say when. All that remained was a gentle dripping from the eaves outside, slow and unhurried, like the cabin itself was still finishing a peaceful thought. I lay there a spell, listening. Now, my boy, there's a particular quiet that follows a night of rain. Not silence exactly, for the world is never truly silent, but a hush. Birds calling softer than usual, as though they too were easing themselves gently into the day. Somewhere off past the barn, I could hear our rooster taking his time about announcing the morning. None of his usual hurried crowing, just a slow, contented call every now and again. Martha stirred beside me, her eyes fluttering open, blinking up at the low ceiling, same as I'd been doing. "The rain stopped," she whispered, though there weren't hardly any need to whisper, seeing as how the whole world outside seemed to be whispering right along with her. "Reckon it did," I answered. We lay there a while longer, neither of us in any hurry to climb down that ladder. Mornings in our cabin never rushed a body along. There weren't no clocks ticking, no schedules pressing in from every direction, just the quiet knowing that chores would come when chores needed coming, and until then, a body could lie still and listen to a rooster take his sweet time. Eventually, the smell of coffee found its way up into the loft, and I reckon that's a smell no boy nor girl can long ignore, even without caring much for the taste of it themselves. It meant Mother was awake. It meant the fire was already crackling below. It meant the day, gentle as it may be, was beginning all the same. We climbed down that ladder together, Martha and me, and found Mother already at the hearth, stirring a pot of cornmeal mush, her hair still loose about her shoulders, the way she wore it only in these early hours before the day's work called for it to be pinned back proper. Father was already outside. I could hear him faintly through the door, his boots squelching soft in the wet grass as he made his rounds, checking on the animals after the night's rain. "Morning, little ones," Mother said, not turning from her stirring, though I could hear the smile in her voice all the same. "Yes, Mother," we answered, same as always. "Now, my boy, I want you to notice something about mornings such as this one.
There weren't nothing remarkable about it, not by the world's usual measuring. No grand adventure, no exciting news, just cornmeal mush and coffee smell, and a rooster taking his sweet time, and a mother humming soft while she stirred a pot over the fire. Father came in eventually, shaking the wet from his boots at the door, his cheeks red from the cool morning air. "Fields are drinking it up good," he said, settling into his chair. "Corn will thank us for this rain come harvest." And my boy, that's just how it was in our little home. Every rain, every morning, every small blessing was noticed, named, and given its proper thanks, even the ones that seemed too small for noticing at all.
Now, my boy, let me tell you about what came later that same morning, once breakfast was cleared and the day's chores called us outside into that rain-washed world. Mother sent Martha and me out to gather eggs once the mush was finished, seeing as how the hens don't much care whether the ground is wet or dry when it comes time to lay. I remember stepping outside that morning and near about forgetting how to breathe for a moment, my boy. The world looked so fresh and new. Every blade of grass wore its own little jewel of rainwater, catching what soft sunlight had begun pushing through the clouds. The oak trees at the edge of our clearing stood dark and glistening, their leaves heavy with drops that fell every so often with a soft plip onto the ground below. The air itself smelled different after a rain like that, clean and green and full of promise, the way only a pioneer morning can smell. Martha ran on ahead toward the hen house, her bare feet splashing through puddles she could have easily walked around, but what child ever walks around a puddle when given the chance? I followed slower, taking it all in the way a boy does when the world had decided to show off a little. Our old dog, Buster, came trotting up alongside me, his coat still damp from wherever he'd spent the night, tail wagging slow and easy. He weren't much of a working dog, truth be told, more of a companion than anything else, but he had a way of appearing. Now, my boy, let me tell you about what happened once that mid-morning sun had climbed higher and Father called us all together for a task that stayed warm in my memory all these many years. "Come along," Father said, stepping through the cabin door, his boots already laced fresh for the outdoors. "Ground soft enough now for what I've been meaning to do." Now, my boy, Father had been talking for near about a week about planting a new row of apple saplings along the edge of our clearing, close by where the old split-rail fence met the tree line. He'd been saving up young trees from a neighbor's orchard, trading a day's labor for 4 small saplings, no taller than my shoulder at the time, the roots wrapped careful in damp burlap sacking. A rain like the one we'd had was just what he'd been waiting on, see? Soft, wet earth, easy for digging, and moisture enough to give them young trees their best start. Martha and I followed him out past the barn, past Buster still dozing in his sunny patch, out to where them saplings waited, leaning against the fence rail like patient little soldiers. "Now this here," Father said, kneeling down beside the first patch of ground he'd marked, "this is going to be an apple tree one day. Might not seem like much now, just a stick with a few roots, but you wait. Come 10, 15 years, and this whole row's going to be heavy with apples every autumn." He handed me a small shovel, worn smooth from years of handling, and showed me how deep to dig, how wide to make the hole, how to loosen the soil at the bottom so the roots could spread easy. Now, my boy, I want you to understand, a boy of 8 ain't naturally patient enough to appreciate planting a tree he won't see grown for near about 15 years. but there was something about the way Father spoke of it, slow and certain, that made even a young boy feel the weight of what we were doing. "Why plant something you won't hardly get to enjoy?" I asked him, my hands already dirty with that wet, dark soil. Father paused a moment, resting back on his heels, looking at me with them steady eyes of his. "Because somebody planted for us long before we came along," he said. "Every good thing we got, this cabin, this cleared land, even them oak trees giving us shade in afternoon. Somebody before us took the trouble to plant it, not knowing for certain they'd live to see it full grown. We plant apple trees, same reason, not just for us, but for whoever comes after." Now, my boy, I didn't understand the full weight of them words back then, not really, but I've thought on 'em many, many times since, through all my years upon this earth. I've come to believe that's about as fine a lesson as any father ever gave his son, planting trees whose shade he'd never sit beneath, whose fruit he might never taste, simply because it was worth doing for those still to come. We planted all 4 saplings that morning, Martha helping pat the soil down snug around each one, Father showing us how to build a little ring of earth around the base to hold the water when it rained. "Now there," Father said, standing back to admire our work, his hands resting on his hips, same as he always stood when a job was finished proper. "Give it time, give it patience, and one day this whole row's gonna be heavy with apples, and somebody's gonna stand right here eating one, not even knowing the name of the boy who dug the hole." Martha giggled at that, though I recall feeling something warmer than laughter settle in my chest, my boy, a quiet kind of pride mixed with almost like reverence, standing there beside 4 small, hopeful sticks that would, given enough patient years, become something far greater than themselves. We worked the rest of that morning clearing brush near the fence line, hauling fallen branches from the previous night's rain, stacking them for kindling come winter. The sun climbed higher still, warm now upon our backs, drying the last of the morning's dampness from the grass. And through it all, I remember glancing back every so often at them 4 small saplings, standing quiet and patient along the fence, waiting on years I couldn't hardly imagine at the time, but which I now, at 75, understand better than I ever thought I would. Now, my boy, let me tell you about what came once the noon sun stood high overhead and Mother called us in for dinner. For even a boy busy with apple trees grows hungry come midday. We washed up at the rain barrel outside the door, that cool water still gathering from the night before, and made our way inside where Mother had laid out a simple dinner. Cold ham left from the night before, a bit of fresh bread still warm from her morning bacon, and a jar of pickled beets she'd put up the previous summer, their color deep and rich as garnet stones. Father said a shorter blessing at midday, same as always. "Lord, bless this food and them that grew it. Amen." Short, simple, same as breakfast, same as every meal in our home. Now, my boy, we ate that dinner with the cabin door propped open, letting in the warm afternoon air, still carrying that clean, rain-washed smell from the morning. Buster had roused himself from his sunny patch by then, and he laid just inside the doorway, watching us eat with the patient hope only a dog can properly manage, waiting on whatever scraps might come his way. Martha talked some about them bird eggs she'd found beneath the barn eaves, wondering aloud when they might hatch, and Father told her, gentle as ever, that patience was needed there too, same as with the apple trees. Nature don't rush for nobody's curiosity, he said. Them eggs'll hatch when they're good and ready, and not a moment sooner. Now, my boy, I reckon that's a lesson this modern world of yours is near about forgotten altogether. Everything nowadays rushes and hurries and demands its answer this very instant. But I'll tell you, from 75 years of living, the finest things a soul can know, love, family, a good harvest, a peaceful heart, ain't a single one of them rushed into being. They's grown slow, tended patient, same as an apple sapling. After dinner, Father rested a spell in his chair by the cold hearth, for even a hard-working man allows himself a short rest at midday, and Mother set Martha and me to smaller chores, seeing as how the afternoon still held plenty of daylight for work. I was given the task of mending a section of fence Father had noticed sagging near the pasture. Nothing too heavy for a boy my age, mostly just holding boards steady while Father, once rested, came along with hammer and nails to set 'em proper. Martha helped Mother with the washing, hauling water from the well, seeing as how a good rain always left plenty of muddy linens needing attention after chores done in wet weather. Now, my boy, I want you to picture this scene proper. A boy holding fence boards steady in the warm afternoon sun, a girl hauling water, her apron damp, her hair coming loose from its pins, a mother scrubbing linens in a great tub, humming that same wordless tune. The father rested now, moving along the fence line with hammer in hand, each nail driven sure and steady. Ain't nothing remarkable about such a scene, not by the world's usual measuring, but my boy, I've lived 75 years now, seen many things, traveled some, buried loved ones, celebrated others, and I'll tell you true, I ain't never found a finer picture of contentment than that simple afternoon, working alongside my family beneath a warm, rain-washed sky. The fence took most of the afternoon to mend proper, Father explaining each step as he went, showing me how to judge whether a post stood true, how to space the nails so the boards wouldn't warp come next winter's frost. A fence built careful, he told me, it'll outlast the man who built it, same as most things worth doing. By the time we finished, the sun had begun its slow slide toward the western hills, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and gold, the kind of afternoon light that makes even ordinary fence posts look like they're glowing from within. Martha and Mother had finished the washing by then, too. Linens hung along a line strung between two oak trees, already beginning to dry in that warm afternoon breeze. And so, my boy, that's how our afternoon passed, slow and steady, filled with small tasks done with care, each one stitching itself gentle into the next, until evening began settling soft once more upon our little clearing in the woods.
Now, my boy, let me tell you about what came as that afternoon light began its slow fade toward evening, for there's a particular memory I've carried close to my heart from that very hour. With the fence mended and the linens hung to dry, Father called me over to the barn, saying there was one more small task before supper, one he'd been saving special for that particular evening. "Come along," he said, that quiet smile of his tucked just beneath his weathered face. "Time you learned something your grandfather taught me back when I weren't much older than you are now." Now, my boy, I followed him into that barn, curious as any boy would be, wondering what secret he might be fixing to share. He led me to a corner where an old wooden chest sat, one I'd seen many times but never had cause to open. Father knelt down, unlatched that chest, and lifted out a small carving knife, its handle worn smooth from years of handling, and a block of soft pine wood, no bigger than my 2 fists together. Father said, "Every boy," he said, settling onto an overturned bucket, motioning me to sit on the hay bale beside him, "every boy ought to know how to whittle himself something useful. It ain't about the wood, mind you. It's about learning to work slow, careful, and patient with your hands." Now, my boy, I want you to picture this scene proper. The barn was dim, lit only by the last of that golden evening light slanting through the cracks in the wall boards. Dust motes floated soft in them narrow beams of sunlight, and somewhere above us, a barn swallow rustled in her nest, settling in for the evening, same as the rest of the world. Father showed me how to hold that knife proper, thumb braced against the blade, always cutting away from my body, never toward it. He showed me how to feel the grain of the wood beneath my fingers, how to work with it rather than against it, same as he always said about most things in life. "What are we making?" I asked him, watching close as he made the first few careful cuts himself, showing me the motion before handing the knife back to me. "Whatever it wants to become," he said, which weren't much of an answer to a curious boy, but it's one that stayed with me all these years since. Now, my boy, we worked slow that evening, Father guiding my hand every so often when the knife wanted to slip, correcting my grip, showing patience with my clumsy first attempts, same as he'd shown patience planting them apple saplings that very morning. Little by little, that shapeless block of pine began taking form beneath my inexperienced hands. Father said it might become a small horse or perhaps a bird, depending on how the wood spoke to me as I worked. Now, my boy, I recall the smell of that barn most vivid of all. Sweet hay mixed with fresh pine shavings curling soft onto the dirt floor beneath our feet, and beneath it all, that faint smell of horse and leather that clung to every barn I ever stepped foot in throughout my whole life. Buster had wandered in partway through our whittling, settling himself near my feet with a contented sigh, watching the wood shavings fall with mild curiosity, occasionally sniffing at one before losing interest entirely. "Your grandfather taught me this same lesson," he said quietly, working his own small block of wood alongside mine, in a barn much like this one back when I was a boy your age. Told me a man's hands ought to know how to make something, not just tend to what's already made. I asked him what he'd whittled that first time all them years before. He said, "A little bird," he smiled soft at the memory. "Clumsiest looking thing you ever saw, but your grandmother kept it on her windsill till the day she passed. Said it weren't about how fine the carving looked, said it was about remembering the evening it was made." Now, my boy, I didn't finish my carving that evening, not by a long stretch. It remained a rough, shapeless thing, more suggestion of a horse than anything resembling one proper. But Father told me that was just fine, that some things take many evenings to finish, same as apple trees take many years to bear fruit. We sat there a while longer as that last golden light faded slow into the soft blue of evening, working quiet alongside one another. No need for further words between us, just a father and his son, learning something patient and lasting in a dim barn as day gently surrendered itself to night. Now, my boy, let me tell you about what came once Father and I finally set down our whittling knives and made our way back toward the cabin, where supper light had already begun glowing warm through the little window. We walked back together across the yard, the
evening air turning cool and soft against our skin, that particular blue hour settling over the clearing when day ain't quite finished but night's already announcing its arrival. Fireflies had begun their slow, blinking dance near the pasture fence, and somewhere off in the trees an owl gave its first soft call of the evening. "Grandfather's bird," I said, walking alongside him, still turning over the thought in my young mind. "Did you ever finish it?" Father chuckled low, that quiet sound he made when a memory pleased him. "Took me near about a whole winter of evenings," he said. "Your grandfather had more patience than most men I ever knew. Never once rushed me, even when my carving looked more like a lump of coal than any bird God ever made." Now, my boy, I remember thinking on that a while, how strange it seemed that patience could be passed down same as a name or a family Bible or a plot of land, handed careful from one generation to the next, same as Father was handing it to me that very evening in the barn. We found Mother and Martha already inside, the cabin filled with the smell of supper cooking, some kind of rabbit stew Father must have caught earlier in the week, and Mother had been saving for a special evening such as this one. "There you two are," Mother said, not looking up from her stirring, though her voice carried that same warm smile it always did. "Whittling again, I reckon, judging by them shavings on your sleeves." Father brushed at his shirt, laughing soft, and set our unfinished carvings on the mantel above the hearth, right alongside a small collection of other such projects, some finished, most not, each one a quiet marker of some evening spent slow and careful in that barn. Supper that evening was as peaceful as any I recall from that whole rainy week. The stew was rich and warm, thick with root vegetables from the cellar, and Mother had baked a small corn pudding besides, sweetened just enough to make it feel like a small celebration, though no particular occasion called for one. Martha talked excited about them bird eggs again, certain now she'd heard the faintest peeping sound from beneath the barn eaves that very afternoon. Father listened patient, same as always, though he cautioned her gentle that young ears sometimes hear what young hearts most wish to hear. Now, my boy, I want you to notice something about our suppers, seeing as how they followed near about the same gentle pattern every single evening. Grace said simple, food shared slow, small stories told around the table, nothing grand, just the little happenings of ordinary days. But it's them ordinary evenings repeated faithful night after night that build something a grand celebration never could. A steadiness, a knowing that no matter what the day brought, supper would come and family would gather and the fire would crackle warm beside us all the same. After supper was cleared, Father took down his fiddle from its place on the wall, an old thing he'd carried with him since before he'd married Mother, its wood worn smooth and dark from years of careful handling. He didn't play nothing fancy, my boy, just simple old tunes, slow and gentle, the kind meant more for quiet evenings than for dancing. Mother hummed along to a few she recognized, her needle still moving through some mending in her lap, and Martha lay stretched out on the floor near the hearth, her chin resting on her folded arms, listening with her eyes half closed. I remember lying down beside her, the warmth of the fire on one side of me and the warmth of my sister on the other, listening to Father's fiddle weave slow and peaceful through the cabin, blending with the crackle of the fire and the soft, settling sounds of evening outside. Now, my boy, if I close my eyes, even now, all these years later, I can still hear that fiddle, still smell that rabbit stew, still feel the particular warmth of a cabin filled with the people who loved me most, gathered close on an ordinary evening
that felt even then like something worth remembering forever.
Now, my boy, let me tell you about what came once Father and I finally set down our whittling knives and made our way back toward the cabin, for supper light had already begun glowing warm through the little window. We walked back together across the yard, the evening air turning cool and soft against our skin, that particular blue hour settling over the clearing when day ain't quite finished, but night's already announcing its arrival. Fireflies had begun their slow, blinking dance near the pasture fence, and somewhere off in the trees, an owl gave its first soft call of the evening. "Grandfather's bird," I said, walking alongside him, still turning over the thought in my young mind. "Did you ever finish it?" Father chuckled low, that quiet sound he made when a memory pleased him. "Took me near about a whole winter of evenings," he said. "Your grandfather had more patience than most men I ever knew. Never once rushed me, even when my carving looked more like a lump of coal than any bird God ever made." Now, my boy, I remember thinking on that a while, how strange it seemed that patience could be passed down same as a name, or a family Bible, or a plot of land, handed careful from one generation to the next, same as Father was handing it to me that very evening in the barn. We found Mother and Martha already inside, the cabin filled with the smell of supper cooking, some kind of rabbit stew Father must have caught earlier in the week, and Mother had been saving for a special evening such as this one. "There you two are," Mother said, not looking up from her stirring, though her voice carried that same warm smile it always did. "Whittling again, I reckon, judging by them shavings on your sleeves." Father brushed at his shirt, laughing soft, and set our unfinished carvings on the mantel above the hearth, right alongside a small collection of other such projects, some finished, most not, each one a quiet marker of some evening spent slow and careful in that barn. Supper that evening was as peaceful as any I recall from that whole rainy week. The stew was rich and warm, thick with root vegetables from the cellar, and Mother had baked a small corn pudding besides, sweetened just enough to make it feel like a small celebration, though no particular occasion called for one. Martha talked excited about them bird eggs again, certain now she'd heard the faintest peeping sound from beneath the barn eaves that very afternoon. Father listened patient, same as always, though he cautioned her gentle that young ears sometimes hear what young hearts most wish to hear. Now, my boy, I want you to notice something about our suppers, seeing as how they followed near about the same gentle pattern every single evening. Grace said simple, food shared slow, small stories told around the table, nothing grand, just the little happenings of ordinary days. But it's them ordinary evenings repeated faithful night after night that build something a grand celebration never could. A steadiness, a knowing that no matter what the day brought, supper would come and family would gather and the fire would crackle warm beside us all the same. After supper was cleared, Father took down his fiddle from its place on the wall, an old thing he'd carried with him since before he'd married Mother, its wood worn smooth and dark from years of careful handling. He didn't play nothing fancy, my boy, just simple old tunes, slow and gentle, the kind meant more for quiet evenings than for dancing. Mother hummed along to a few she recognized, her needle still moving drew some mending in her lap, and Martha lay stretched out on the floor near the hearth, her chin resting on her folded arms, listening with her eyes half closed. I remember lying down beside her, the warmth of the fire on one side of me and the warmth of my sister on the other,
listening to Father's fiddle weave slow and peaceful through the cabin, blending with the crackle of the fire and the soft, settling sounds of evening outside. Now, my boy, if I close my eyes, even now, all these years later, I can still hear that fiddle, still smell that rabbit stew, still feel the particular warmth of a cabin filled with the people who loved me most, gathered close on an ordinary evening that felt even then like something worth remembering forever.
Now, my boy, let me tell you what came as Father's fiddle music slowed and the evening began settling toward its final sleepy hours. The fire had burned down some by then, glowing more ember than flame, casting that deep amber light across the cabin walls that always seemed to make a body's eyelids grow heavy, no matter how hard they fought against it. Father set his fiddle back upon its peg on the wall, gentle as always, same care he showed every single evening when the music was finished. "Reckon that's enough for one day," he said, settling back into his chair with a long, contented sigh, the kind a man gives when his body's tired but his heart's full. Martha had already drifted near sleep on the floor beside me, her breathing slow and even, one hand still resting loose against her cheek. Mother set down her mending and looked at the two of us with that soft, knowing smile mothers have carried since the beginning of time. "Look at these two," she said quietly to Father, "worn clean out from a day of trees and fences and whittling knives." Now, my boy, I recall fighting to keep my own eyes open just a little longer, wanting to hold on to that warm, peaceful feeling a while more before sleep carried me off entirely. There's something about a child's reluctance to end a good day, even when his body's already halfway into dreaming. "Tell us just one more thing, Father," I asked, same as I asked most every evening, hoping to stretch the day out just a bit further. Father chuckled soft, rubbing a hand slow across his tired eyes. "Just one more thing, then," he said, "and then it's off to bed with the both of you." He leaned forward in his chair, elbows resting on his knees, and looked at me with them steady, weathered eyes of his. "You asked me this morning why a man plants trees he might not live to see grown, and I told you it's for them that come after, but I reckon there's more to it than just that." Now, my boy, I remember sitting up a little straighter at that, curious despite my heavy eyelids. A man plants an apple tree, not knowing for certain he'll taste its fruit. He whittles a piece of wood into something useful, not caring overly much whether it comes out fine or clumsy. He mends a fence, plants a field, raises his children up proper, all without any guarantee of seeing the full harvest of his labor. He paused a moment, glancing over at Mother, who had picked her mending back up, but was listening close all the same. "That's faith, my boy," Father said. "Not just the kind we speak in church on a Sunday,
though that's part of it surely, but the everyday kind. Faith that if a man does his work honest and patient, tends what's been given to him with care, the good Lord will see to the rest in his own time, his own way. Now, my boy, I didn't understand the fullness of them words that evening, being just a boy of 8 with sleep already tugging heavy at my eyelids. But I've carried 'em close all these 75 years since, through plantings that failed and plantings that flourished, through years easy and years hard. And I found Father's words true every single time I stopped long enough to remember 'em. Now, my boy, Father said, standing slow from his chair, off to bed, both of you, before you fall asleep right there on Mother's clean floor. Martha stirred groggy, and I helped pull her up gently, the two of us shuffling sleepy toward that ladder leading up to our loft, while Mother gathered the last of the evening's mending, and Father banked the fire low for the night, same as he did every evening before sleep claimed the whole cabin. Now, my boy, let me tell you about that final climb up to the loft, what passed between Mother and me before sleep finally claimed the whole cabin that night. Martha went up the ladder first, her small feet finding each rung slow and sleepy, and I followed close behind, feeling that same heaviness in my own limbs, the good kind of tired that comes only after a day spent full of trees and fences and fiddle music. Mother climbed up part way, same as always, to tuck them quilts snug round our shoulders. The loft felt warm still, holding on to the day's heat, even as the night outside turned cool and quiet. Warm enough? She asked, same question as always. Yes, Mother, Martha and I answered together, our voices already thick with sleep. But that evening, my boy, I recall asking her something I hadn't thought to ask before. Mother, I said, do you reckon this day will still matter years and years from now? Now she paused a moment at that, her hand resting gentle on the quilt near my shoulder, considering my question with the same patience she gave to most everything. I reckon, she said slowly, that most days feel small while we're living them. Ain't nothing about gathering eggs or mending fences or whittling wood that seems like it'll matter much come 50 years' time. She smoothed the quilt a little more, her voice growing softer, gentler, the way it always did as sleep drew nearer. Now, I've noticed something in all my years, she continued. It's usually them small, quiet days that a body remembers longest. Not the loud ones, not the exciting ones, the quiet ones, stitched together patient, day after day, year after year, until one morning you wake up an old woman and you realize all them small days built something far bigger than any single one of them alone. Now, my boy, that particular day, ordinary as it seemed while I was living it, has stayed with me clearer than near about any other memory from my whole long life. Perhaps Mother was right about such things. Perhaps it's the quiet, unremarkable days that build the deepest roots in a person's heart.
Now, my boy, let me tell you how that peaceful season carried on. For the story don't end with just that one rainy night and the morning after, though it's them memories I hold closest to my heart. The weeks that followed passed slow and steady, same as most weeks did in our little clearing. Them apple saplings took root proper, Father checking on them most every evening, pleased to see new green leaves unfurling soft along their thin branches as the season warmed. Martha's patience with them bird eggs was finally rewarded some 2 weeks later when she came running from the barn hollering fit to wake the whole county, certain she'd heard actual peeping this time. Father let us both climb the ladder, careful to peek, and sure enough, 3 tiny featherless birds lay nestled together, their mouths wide and hungry, their mothers swooping in, scolding something fierce at our intrusion. "Told you patience pays off," Father said, smiling down at Martha's beaming face, and I reckon that lesson settled itself even deeper into both our young hearts that particular afternoon. My carving, too, slow as it came along, eventually took the shape of something resembling a horse, though truth be told, a generous soul might have mistaken it for most any 4-legged creature. Father kept it on the mantel anyhow, right alongside his own boyhood attempts, saying a first carving weren't meant to be judged for its skill, only for the patience it taught the hands making it. Now, my boy, I could tell you many more stories from that particular season, evenings just as peaceful, mornings just as gentle, each one stitching itself soft into the next, much the same as that one rainy night I've spent so long describing to you. But I reckon what matters most, looking back now from these 75 years of distance, ain't any single remarkable happening. It's the pattern itself, the rhythm of a family rising with the sun and settling with the stars, working honest, eating simple, praying humble, and resting peaceful, night after night after night. Father passed on many years later, long after Martha and I had grown and left that little cabin behind for homes of our own. But I recall standing beside his grave, an apple orchard grown tall and heavy with fruit not far off in the distance, and thinking on them words he'd spoken to me that rainy evening so long before. That's faith, my boy, not just the kind we speak in church of a Sunday, but the everyday kind. I understood, standing there grown and gray myself, what he'd meant to all them years before. He'd planted more than apple trees that season, my boy. He'd planted patience and gratitude and quiet faith deep into the hearts of his children, trusting the Lord to tend that harvest long after his own hands had finished their labor. Mother lived some years later, and I recall visiting her often in her final seasons, finding her still humming that same wordless tune while she worked, slower now, softer, but present all the same, right up until the evening she finally closed her eyes for the last time, peaceful as any rainy night's sleep. Now, my boy, I've lived a long life since them childhood days in that little cabin, seen much of this world change around me, watched new inventions arrive that would
have seemed like pure magic to father and mother in their time. Watched the pace of living quicken faster than either of them could have ever imagined. But through it all, I've carried them quiet lessons close to my heart. Patience with growing things, gratitude for small blessings, faith that honest labor, tended careful, always yields its harvest in the Lord's own good time. And on rainy nights such as this one, my boy, when I lie here in my own bed, listening to the same gentle rhythm falling soft upon my roof, I find myself carried back, same as always, to that little cabin, that warm fire, that fiddle music drifting slow through evening air, and I give my thanks once more for a childhood so simply, so peacefully blessed.
Now, my boy, the rain outside my window tonight has softened some, same as it always does in them late hours. And I reckon that means it's near about time for both of us to be drifting off toward sleep. But before I let you go, let me tell you one small thing more. A little habit Mother kept that I've carried with me my whole life since. One I still practice even now. An old man alone in his bed with nothing but memories for company. Every night, right before sleep took her, Mother would whisper a small list of gratitudes into the darkness. Not aloud, mind you, not so anyone else could hear, just soft beneath her breath, same as a prayer, though she never called it one. I only knew of it because I asked her once, being a curious boy, why her lips moved so soft just before her breathing slowed into sleep. I'm counting my blessings, child, she told me. Same 3 or 4 each night most times. The rain on the roof, the fire's warmth, your father's steady hands, you and your sister safe beneath this roof. Don't take but a moment, but it settles a body's heart proper before sleep. Now, my boy, I've kept that same small habit all these 75 years since, and I reckon it served me just as faithful as it served her. So tonight, before you drift off proper, let Old Silas share his own small blessings with you, same as Mother taught me all them years ago. I'm grateful this evening for the rain still falling soft outside my window, same gentle rhythm as that night so long ago. I'm grateful for this fire beside my bed, embers glowing low now, same warm comfort my father's hearth
once gave a small boy in a pioneer cabin. I'm grateful for memories such as these, kept close and warm through 75 years of living, ready to be shared on nights such as this one with whoever needs a peaceful story to carry them off toward sleep. And I'm grateful, my boy, for you, for whoever you are, wherever you're listening from this evening, trusting an old man's voice to carry you gentle toward your own peaceful rest. Now, my boy, I want you to try something with me, same as Mother taught me all them years ago. Won't take but a moment, and I reckon it'll settle your own heart proper before sleep finally claims you. Think of one small thing, just one, that made you grateful this very day. Don't need to be grand, don't need to be remarkable, just something small, something quiet, same as eggs gathered, or bread rising, or rain falling soft upon a cabin roof. Hold that small gratitude gentle in your mind now, same as Mother held hers, and let it settle you slow and peaceful toward sleep. The fire beside me has burned down near about to embers now, my boy, casting just the faintest warm glow across my quilt, same color as that lantern light from so long ago. The rain continues its gentle patter outside, unhurried, patient, same as it's always been. And I find my own eyes growing heavy now, same as yours surely are. This peaceful old story having carried us both, gentle and slow, toward the edge of sleep. Now, my boy, it's near about time for this old man to bid you good night. The rain outside is slowed to just the softest whisper now, barely a sound at all, just enough to remind the body that the earth is still breathing, soft and slow, same as you. My fire is settled into embers, deep orange, fading, quiet, same as it did that night so long ago in that little cabin where a boy once lay beneath his grandmother's quilt, listening to his father's fiddle fade into silence. You've done well tonight, my boy, following an old man's voice through a rainy evening, a quiet supper, a whittled piece of pine, an apple sapling waiting patient in the dark. All of it small, all of it quiet, all of it enough. I want you to know wherever you are, whatever your day has carried, you are safe now. same as that boy in that loft all them years ago. Warm enough, quiet enough, loved enough. Let your shoulders settle deeper into your bed. Let your breath grow slow and even. Let your thoughts drift soft like fireflies near a pasture fence. There ain't nothing more you need to hold on to tonight. Just the rain, just the fire, just an old man's voice growing quieter and quieter. Rest now, my boy. Rest easy. Good night.